Let's turn to your challenge around augmenting productivity. When we meet on the 18th, I'd like us to focus on the transformation stage, on generating possible solutions. This means that it would be helpful to make headway on the other stages before we meet. I mentioned earlier that not all stages of CPS are always necessary. That said, when working with a challenge like productivity, beginning at the beginning can be helpful because productivity is one of those terms that we all think of slightly differently and that we all hold a lot of assumptions around. For example, on one hand, most of us agree that too many meetings and interruptions can be a huge time waster and sap productivity. On the other hand, chance meetings have been recognized as a key ingredient in successful innovation. For example, the Bell Lab, which has been considered one of the most productive places historically in terms of generating innovation, was designed precisely so that people could not avoid running into each other. It thus seems important to go into this challenge with precision around what exactly you find productive and unproductive when it comes to meetings and interruptions. What kind of interruptions are productive and what kind are unproductive? Here's another reason I see clarification as important. Many of us have become conditioned to check our email and self interrupt every few minutes. What if you put in an email or meeting policy in place to stop people from interrupting each other, only to discover that a core problem wasn't the interruptions, but a lack of attention span? That without others interrupting them, people will nonetheless self interrupt. Moreover, when it comes to knowledge work, it can be hard to define what productivity looks like. If someone is solving a complex problem, at what points are they most productive sitting at their desk? And at what points are they most productive going out for a walk? Clearly, you know your organization, and I am only meeting you for the first time. My examples may be off or they may not resonate. I nonetheless hope that you get my point. It seems important to clarify what is meant by productivity before we head into solution finding. Before I go into the pre work, I'd like to address logistics. For one, we'll be using linoit.com to work together between now and Wednesday. This is a very intuitive, easy to use post it note software. I've sent information via email, which hopefully you have, around accessing our Linoit boards. If you click on the links you received in the email, they should take you right there. You can post to the Linoit boards without a password, but if you want to move the stickies around, you will need to log in. The username and password are on the screen. When you're posting on Linoit, please be clear enough in what you write so that others can understand what you mean. We won't have time on Wednesday to review everything that was written, so you may not have a chance to explain your ideas when we meet in person. Also, it would be enormously helpful if you could complete the pre work by Monday evening. I will adapt the session plan for Wednesday depending on what you post on the Linoit boards, but I will need some time to do it. Here are your two pre work tasks. Your first task would be simply to set yourself the goal of being particularly observant as you go about your daily work and noting concrete instances when you notice particularly productive and particularly unproductive behavior or interactions. In creative work, there's a lot of talk about observational or anthropological research. And on the slide, there is a cartoon which spoofs this tendency. The premise is that if you start with close observation of a phenomena you want to innovate around, you increase the odds of moving beyond your assumptions and instead find those micro insights through which new ideas emerge. When Bill and I met, he mentioned the book Drawing from the Right Side of the Brain. One premise of this book is that if asked to draw a chair, most of us would draw something generic, symbolic, and dull. However, if we actually spent time looking at a chair, if we even perhaps looked only at the chair and not at our paper as we were drawing, that is where we might begin to truly see and represent something unique and original. Here's perhaps an overly simplistic example from the world of product design. 20 years ago, all children's toothbrushes were small. The assumption was that children are smaller than adults, thus, their toothbrushes should be smaller. It was only when designers actually watched children in the act of brushing their teeth that they realized that children could more easily maneuver if their toothbrushes had big and not small handles. So here's your challenge. Through close observation of what's going on in your own workplace, or perhaps even your own behaviors, can you come to some new insights around where productivity might be happening or not happening? At the beginning of the next workday, set yourself the task of focusing on two questions. One, when do I see productive behavior or interactions occurring? Two, when do I see unproductive behavior or interactions occurring? Record your observations either directly onto the Linoit page or somewhere else and then transfer your observations into the page. You can see on the screen that I've set up three guiding questions and that I've stressed the importance of being concrete and specific. When you describe what you observed, please provide enough specificity for those of us reading to truly envision it, as if a mini movie were playing in our heads around who and we could see who was doing what where. Please post your responses under the questions, put your name on the sticky so we know who wrote what. In an ideal world, by Tuesday morning, we should all be able to go to this board for new insight emerging from your observational work. The second task is linked to the first. On the second Linoit board, you will notice that I've asked the question, what might possibly be causing non-optimal productivity at Quester Tangent? I've also included these guidelines. By Monday, September 16th, each person should generate 10 possible causes of productivity being impeded. Include both probable and possible causes. We'll converge when we meet, so feel free to include out of the box ideas here. Put your name on each of your sticky notes so others will know which you posted. Please take to heart the wording of the question, which asks you to brainstorm possible causes. This means that you should put on this board ideas that seem possible to you, even if they're not probable. We will diverge on this board, which means generating lots of different types of ideas. We'll go for quantity. Please post at least 10 ideas each. They can be abstract or concrete. For example, a concrete idea would be being CC'd on emails harms productivity. A more abstract idea might be a lack of motivation to be more productive harms productivity. Now you'll notice I set the deadline for Monday evening. I don't know your culture, so I'm reluctant to set too many deadlines. I will say, though, that in an ideal world, you won't log on Monday and simply post 10 ideas. The best thinking emerges both through allowing ideas to incubate and from using other people's ideas as jumping off points. In an ideal world, everyone will have posted 10 ideas by Saturday night. Then on Sunday and Monday, everyone will have read the ideas posted by others and have posted 5 to 10 more. Often our first ideas are fairly obvious. It's only when we get into that next round of idea generation that we begin going a bit deeper. So to summarize the deadline, I understand that everyone's busy, so at the very least, if you could post 10 ideas by Monday night, that would be great. If it's logistically possible for you to meet two deadlines and post an initial round by Saturday and a second round by Monday, that would be ideal since it would allow you to experience a more robust version of the process. To map all of this onto the CPS process diagram, you can see that in doing the observational research, you will be assessing the situation or gathering relevant data. In brainstorming possible causes of non-optimal productivity, you will be formulating challenges. We are doing all this so that on Wednesday we will be able to converge onto what you perceive as the most important cause of non optimal productivity to focus on, and then come to some solutions. Before closing, I need to give credit where it's due and let you know that most of the ideas I'm expressing here can be found in Puccio, Mance, and Murdoch's book, Creative Leadership Skills That Drive Change. That's where the version of the CPS model that we are using comes from. Other than that, I have nothing more to add. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Wednesday.